All right, time is 6:30. It's June 14th, 2022. Abington Conservation Commission meeting. First item on the agenda is notice of intent filed by Abington DPW Beaverbrook Playground Committee for rehabilitation of Beaverbrook Playground located at 1 Ralph G. Hamlin Lane. They still do not have a DEP file number, so they've asked to be continued to the June 28th meeting.
We'll make a motion, we continue the Beaverbrook Playground and wait for their proper paperwork.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Next on the agenda is SE 084-0555, abbreviated notice of resource area delineation filed by Jim Lambert, WP East Acquisitions LLC, located at 0 Summer Street. They've also asked for a continuance, if you check the correspondence, to the, also for the June 28th meeting. Just a quick rundown. Our peer reviewer, LEC, did an initial site walk, noticed there were some discrepancies with flags missing. Plans on getting out there later this week to do a follow-up to make sure everything that he had noticed from the original site walk is done, and plans to have a report to us before the next meeting. Someone want to make a motion to continue that?
I'll make a motion. Oh,
Go ahead.
No, that's okay. You're right there.
Make a motion to continue SE 084-0555.
I'll
We'll wait their
second that.
report.
Do I have a second?
Second that.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, next up is the enforcement order, 0 Hancock Street. I know Tony sent everybody an email, basically from the site walk, that Tim, myself, Officer Mike Randall from the Environmental Police, the property owner, and Nicole Hayes from Goddard Consulting, who's the wetland scientist for the project, did last Friday around 5 o'clock. So if you also look, there's a map that was emailed to us from Goddard last week showing all the delineation in the areas. In orange are the wetland crossings. The small one up by EC40, EC42 going across to EC34, EC30. That area wasn't impacted, wasn't touched when they did their clear cutting towards the pond, but they did put erosion control over there. The area from EC1 to EC5 going across to EC10 to EC13, the erosion control was installed in that area. Tim noticed right between EC5 and EC13 that the erosion control wasn't in the correct spot. If you went out there to look, I have pictures on my phone. But the erosion control was, the disturbed area was about probably between 6 inches to 18 inches further back. So what we decided to let them do is instead of putting in silt fence and 12-inch compost tubes further back, where it's so wet over there, we came up with a solution of putting in a row of 18-inch compost tubes. That'll basically keep anything from migrating downstream. And they're waiting to get those compost tubes in, so it's there now. There shouldn't be much of an impact if we get rain until those come in. Now the next crossing down closer to the pond, EC20 to EC22, going across EC28 to EC25. No erosion control is in at that area yet. We looked at it with Nicole, and same thing. If you look on both sides, it's very, very wet, so putting in silt fence, it's almost impossible without making more of a mess there. So we came to the conclusion that we'd, same thing, put down the 18-inch compost tubes in those areas to stabilize and prevent sediment from migrating to undisturbed areas. And they're waiting to get those 18-inch compost tubes. They're thinking the end of this week. It's a specialty item, so it's probably, I think even the end of this week is probably
Optimistic.
very, yeah. But there's really no rain in the forecast except for Friday, and I don't think it's that much. And once they put those in, we'll go out there and do another inspection, and hopefully that's it until they come before us with a restoration plan.
And they're leaving all the current protection in place?
Yeah. And the excavator's out of there, so.
Is, I'm sorry,
No, go ahead.
is DEP, Andrew Point, going to come and walk that property?
Have you reached out to him yet to schedule a site walk? Well, I thought the delineation was done. Okay.
Because I reached out to him and I came back, but he said that he'd go out after the full delineation.
Okay. But, and basically, the erosion control that was set up was done for what what Andrew was looking for.
Okay.
The only thing on the enforcement order, I don't know if we want to amend it so that we can do site walks over there after the rain events, just to make sure that it's working until they do their restoration plan.
I think that's a good idea.
I agree.
Looking at this map where it's marked off, the upland and the BVW over by GC1, EC20, GC100, according to the Mass Mapper, that's all core habitat biomaps. So, you know, I'm sure when Andrew gets out there, he'll probably bring that up as well.
Oh, we have to vote on it.
I'm guessing this is this. This here, right?
So I don't know if we want to do it like we've been doing for order of conditions now, is put that blanket 7
Okay.
a.m. to 7 p.m. Or within 6 hours of a rain event.
I think
Sounds
that's fair.
reasonable.
Yeah. Should we do that, Jean?
Yes, I did.
Someone want to make a motion to amend the enforcement order?
I'll make a motion to amend the enforcement order to reflect that we can visit the site between 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. and within 6 hours or later of a rain event.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody have any questions they want to ask about the enforcement order, or?
The environmental police report, so was that a written report or is it just something they discussed on the sidewalk?
I'm still waiting to get the report. Officer Randall still hasn't finished it yet.
Okay,
And I'm basically going to send him all the correspondence I've had with the property owner, with the wetland scientist, so they're putting together a file for this.
thank you.
Anything else? All right. Next up, new business, request for certificate of compliance located at 75 Nile Street.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to just notify the board that I am going to recuse myself because the owner of 75 Nile Street is a friend of my son's, and my sister and brother-in-law are abutters.
Okay. So last Thursday, Tim, Alex, and myself did a site walk over there. Everything looked good. I think the house was built in 2015. Gene? You live on Nile
I do.
Street, so
It was built in 2019.
2000, okay.
I'll be here as a resident.
But, we walked along the perennial stream. Everything looks to be in good shape. I didn't notice it, nothing stood out to me that would prevent us from issuing a certificate of compliance. The only thing is, we haven't gotten the 2 as-bills, so we're still waiting to track those down. Somebody has them in Town Hall, correct? We just haven't. So we just need to get that. Well, this all came about, the property owner's looking to do some other work there. He applied for an RDA, and he couldn't do it because of the open order condition.
This is all.
That's the plan, right? It's not the as-built, right? I mean, the siltation fence is all gone, but the area is completely stabilized. Grass is, I wish I had grass that looked as nice as that. But yeah, the only thing that's holding us up from approving it is the two as-built stamped by a professional engineer. I don't know,
Shall we take a vote subject to?
subject to, I mean, we
Can we
just
just
continue to the
continue
next
it, though?
meeting and do it? But he couldn't, like we did with 380 Rockland Ave, where we basically said we're gonna approve the outstanding order conditions if they, for what they have to come with us for the next meeting. And then also, they came before us with a notice of intent for the next project. Remember that? I think you were there and you were there.
The 380 Rockland?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Remember, we basically told them at one meeting, bring this to the next meeting, we're gonna approve it, and then
Yeah.
they came before us again for the next,
Right,
the other project.
right.
Can we do that for this too? So they could, if he wants to, come before us for the RDA right after.
So, and I'm sorry, I have no comment.
Get up and state your name and address, please.
Jean Mattios is 32 Nile Street. I think what you're referring to at 380 was that he had 2 open OOCs, so we had to close out one. So he was suggested that he withdraw and come back, close out the COC, and then have his next project in hand, so they were done one right after the other. So it was continued till we got to do that. That's what I remember and recall from that meeting. Is that not right?
No, that was right.
So,
No, I mean, really, we're gonna continue. I'm just wondering if he can also, at the next meeting,
I don't see why he couldn't, because
Yeah.
that's what we allowed to do for 3
Right,
Brockton
right.
Avenue. I mean, that way he doesn't have to keep postponing, coming
Right.
back, so.
But Fred Buck also doing it, and he never knew.
but that's the only thing holding us up is getting the as-built. So if he can get those, or we can come up with them before the next meeting, then we'll,
We
you
had
know,
a special meeting,
that too, or, but I mean,
but an as-built is,
but if that's all we need to approve it, then he still can't get to us to the next meeting anyways for his RDA. So he's not gonna lose any time. Basically, we'll put approving the certificate, approve the certificate of compliance, and then new business will be the RDA. So he's
That's
not gonna
fine.
lose any time
Yeah.
doing it that way.
As long as he's notified.
Yeah, as long as we have the as-built.
You just want to continue it till the next hearing?
I think it's the best thing, is we don't wanna it's not good, we don't want to set precedents where we say, oh, we're going to approve it without having the as-built in hand, because then
Right.
the next applicant that comes before us is going to say, well, you let so-and-so do it.
Yep.
We have it in the order, if it's in the order of conditions, then we should follow it.
Yep, I agree.
Anything else?
Any motion?
I do.
All right. I'll make a motion that we table 75 Nile Street till the next meeting.
June 28th. Have a second?
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Next up. Welcome back, Jane.
Thank you.
Poof, and she's back.
So next up, I forget what day, do you guys remember what day we did the site walk at 154?
Yes,
That was,
May, wait a minute.
was it 5 o'clock?
Yeah,
Definitely before Memorial Day.
oh my goodness.
I
Was
think.
it Friday?
Hold on.
I thought it was midweek.
It was a Monday, wasn't it?
Oh, it was Tuesday. It was right after Memorial Day.
Okay.
Oh,
That's
So
right,
the
Monday
thir-
was.
The 31st.
Yes.
Right.
Alex, Jean, and Lynn got there before me. There's a question, it was basically just a pre-construction meeting that was also part of their order of conditions. So to fulfill that, we met up with John Mento. The only two things that really came up were regards to doing the plantings, where it was so late and so close. I think tomorrow's the cutoff for the growing season anyway. So they asked if they could push it off till the fall. In your packets, an email from Ken Thompson, the botanist for the property, and they'd like to do the work in the fall. But they also plan to stabilize the area with annual ground cover and buckwheat. Which, I mean, where it's, like I said, where it's June 14th and tomorrow's the last day of growing season.
I'm fine with it.
Yeah.
I think that's reasonable. The only thing I would like to say with regards to his plan, he had put in, and I would like to respond to Mr. Thompson, because on his plan that John Mento provided us with, I believe, I don't know if I have it, he had put in white birch, and the abutters were promised, I have a copy of his plan right here if anybody wants to look at it. The abutters were promised white pines, which will afford them privacy in the winter months versus just putting in deciduous trees. So,
Yeah, that was what, they were promised that at what meeting?
they were at the original meeting back in 2021, and also when they found out that the house was being moved, they contacted Dan Mento, Mrs. Contois from Elm Street, and Mrs. Kelly from the abutter directly at 95 Nile Street, both called and spoke to Mr. Mento. And yet Mr. Thompson's plan is, like I said, it has red maple and birch. And they were told originally in 2021 it would be white pines for privacy.
Are those the plants that we put in the special order conditions, that, or the trees rather, not plants?
I don't think we did put white pines. I
No,
think-
that's what I'm saying, we didn't, that's probably why they didn't have it on their plan, I'm guessing.
Right.
I know
But-
when I wasn't here, you amended the order, thought to add those.
I thought we did make a motion to amend it. I can go back and watch the meeting and verify.
But yeah, we can email Ken about that anyways.
Yeah, I mean, he seems very nice
Yep.
to deal with, and I mean, you know, his plans were pretty specific, and, but it's just that, it would be not a good thing if I didn't, where I've been contacted by the abutters.
All right, then the other topic, discussion at the meeting was installing, or how to install the erosion control, and I told them they wanted to get in there with a small excavator to trench the silt fence in and then put the road, I think they use 12-inch compost tubes or 8-inch compost tubes over there too, but,
They
I
do have
said-
compost
yeah, I
tubes, the
said-
black ones?
Yep.
Yeah. Oh,
so I said that was fine if they wanted to use a small excavator, it just,
okay.
I don't know, has anybody been out there to take a look at them?
I mean, I've been by there tonight on my way here, and I noticed, and they have it clearly marked off.
Yep.
I mean, I didn't walk on the property, but you could see it from the street.
Yeah, and we can, somebody can take it, we can email, the owner and see if we can just do a quick site walk, just to,
Yeah. I mean, it looks good from the street from what I can see.
yeah.
I mean, I didn't go over and kick them to see if they were dug in, but.
All right, any other questions about the site walk?
In terms of getting the trees, how are we going to communicate with Ken Thompson about species of trees and stuff he's using? Do we need to have him come before us, or is someone going to email him and say, hey, we see
Well,
This on
they've
the
already
plan.
sent us a plan, so I guess if Gene wants to send an email to me, I can forward it up to him, and then,
Maybe he can come and meet with all of us, so we all have a chance to ask any questions that we may have. Because like I said, I only asked Mr. Mento for this, and he said I could have it. But I
Well-
don't think anybody else has seen it. Have you guys seen it? All right. So you can just kind of take a quick look.
realistically, we should be contacting the owner of the property, not
Okay.
not his,
I was just kind of surprised that he wasn't there at that meeting, and I had mentioned that to John. And he said he was not available, and I'm like, oh, okay. Because that way we could have asked him questions, but.
Yeah. So you'll email Paul
Yep,
about the pines?
yeah, I can do that. I'll send it to Paul, and Paul can send it off. Yep.
Okay.
just the wrong agenda. All right, any further discussion on Rockland Ave? All right. Next up, discussion on the checklist.
Which one?
The
NOI?
NOI.
The NOI checklist, yeah.
checklist.
So I would like to give a very, very well-deserved thank you to Miss Lynn and Miss Kathy, because they certainly helped a lot. Their input made this document amazing, at least I think it was. I don't know if everybody else feels the same way, but it's pretty clear, and there's no room for misinterpretation of what's going to be required by the board. And
This would be very helpful, I think, especially make sure that we have everything we need, but I think also to let them know that even if we have all of this, we can still ask for more information, and they need to understand that that can happen as things change over the course, so we get more information and we have more questions.
And it will also help eliminate last minute coming into poor Tony and slamming her and expecting her to get a lot of this on the agenda, the next agenda that's coming up. I mean, she needs time to do her due diligence with, making sure that everything is there that we need.
Yeah.
So I know that's happened to her a couple of times.
Is there anything on here, that's, it basically says a cutoff date where stuff can be accepted to be on our next meeting?
Yeah.
Page 9,
Oh, sorry.
right?
It's on page 1 as well.
Right. And I think we had put that down, but
7 days.
Tony said she didn't need, did you, Tony? I'm not sure what your response was when you reviewed it.
Oh, yeah, right.
So we said noon
Doing on Tuesdays?
on Tuesdays, 2 weeks before the next meeting date. And then if we ask for additional information, let's say we have a hearing and we say, hey, we need this, they have 7 calendar days to
Cool.
provide that to us. And if we don't get it within that time frame, the hearing will be continued to another time. I think that sets out expectations and guidelines for them to respect our time and not rush things, and also give us enough time to be able to look things over, see if we have everything we need.
All right, the only thing I saw I'd like to change is just to add in, where we're asking for permission to go, to have authorization to go onto a property, same thing like we've been doing, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. and then,
What page is that on?
That's 10.
Okay.
10, right? Is it the site access authorization?
yeah.
that'd be fine.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, between 7 a.m. to 7 p.m.
Yep. Then, I mean, we're just gonna put that in when we do the orders anyways, so
Right.
at least that just covers us if we wanna go out there and do us, you know, if you wanna do a site walk before they come before the board.
And at the end, there's an acknowledgement that they've actually gone through and they understand that if they have an incomplete application, if they don't give us the information that we want, then that can be denial of the project per our town bylaw and the state Wetlands Protection Act. So just to make it very clear to them that, I guess to take it seriously, that we need all this information.
It will also ensure that we don't have to keep having them come before us over and over and over. So it helps the applicant expedite their project in a more timely manner. And then we won't be always asking, well, we need this, well, we need this. I mean, it pretty much spells out.
I also, one of the things that I tweaked about this is, I know, Tony, you're going to be the one who would have to go through, and there's a lot here. So in the wording, I put and/or one of us, so that if there's times you can't do it, one of us, or more than one of us can do it, or at least help you out, just so we can, if you have questions, you're like, I don't understand this, or you just don't have the time, that could give you a break, because I know there's a lot of things that you'd have to go through and check. I didn't want to dump it all on you.
It's a lot. And one of the things I really liked about this whole idea is that when we had taken the MAC class on, you know, order of conditions and stuff, and she said, I can't remember who it was that led that class. She said, you can ask for plans to be color-coded, so you can tell at a glance what it is that you're looking at, instead of trying to, you know, read the flags and read the riverfront area and read the BBWs. I mean, they're all going to be able to be seen at a glance, and it just makes it a lot easier when you're going to read the maps.
So that's on page 5, right?
Yes.
Color coding.
No, and I've seen through my work, a lot of towns are adopting that too.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm
Makes
trying to
my
think,
life a lot
who led
easier.
that class? Gerard. Michelle Gerard. Yeah, she was one that led the class on that.
All right.
I mean, I have to say, for 75 Dale Street, when they put, you know, the green area and stuff, it was a lot easier to see
Yeah.
stuff going on there. So to have color coding, I think is going to be great. I mean, she had a plan during that where she had taken a highlighter
Yeah,
Right, and
yeah,
she
she
put
colored them.
different colors, and it's like, yeah, that does make a difference.
Yeah,
It is
especially
easier.
if you're walking the property or you just, you're like, okay.
I prefer for it to be color coded, so I don't have to get out a highlighter myself.
Roll on. Yeah. Any further discussion? I think probably next meeting we can vote on it.
Okay.
All right?
Yeah, it gives us an opportunity and the other members to digest it, like Tim might want to review it one
Yep.
more time. Kathy, Dan.
All right, next up is discussion on permit fees.
Okay.
Who made out the nice colorful Excel spreadsheet?
Color coded by town. Again, all I did was take the data that you provided, Mr. Chairman, and I put it on an Excel sheet based on how, Abington's was set up so that you could just look across and see the differences. I know there was a subcommittee for this, but the discussion, I think by looking at the sheet and comparing each town as you go across, it's pretty self-explanatory where we are as far as the priest. Do you want a copy of this?
Yeah.
Sure.
I'll have one.
This is our fee schedule. That is comparing these all the other towns. They go across. And it's two-sided, so.
Yeah, notices of intent. They're so cheap in comparison to all the other towns.
And I do know that some of the towns are very similar, like our neighboring town, Rockland, is almost identical to Hanover. And most of these fees were based on the current guidelines provided by DEP on their online form and information reporting.
So the actual dollar amount is suggested by DEP, or the actual
Well,
thing that you're charging for?
You know how when originally they just said, $25, $12.50 goes here, and it's what they had on their instruction? I thought I included that to be printed, but I don't see it, but okay. I can send that to everybody again.
No, I mean, you have it on this last page.
No, there was a separate page that showed what DEP currently has out there,
Oh, okay.
and that didn't get, but that's okay.
Is it this?
Yes, I think it might be, if you look at the very last page.
Okay.
So you look at their amounts and how they break down their categories. I'm sorry, I apologize. So at the if you go almost to next to the last page, Category 1 fees for each activity, and then they have Category 2 fees. And it just keeps going on and on. And this is all from the instructions from the DEP.
Okay. So this is how much they're charging at the state level?
Right.
Okay.
So, again, Rockland and Hanover are almost identical. Rockland has a few more fees where it comes to enforcement orders. God bless you.
Thank you.
Enforcement orders if they want to restart work. I think that's on, if you flip the Excel sheet over, you'll see it on the second page for additional fees.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. In some cases, some towns do charge by linear foot. I don't know if we want to get that specific, but
I don't,
I wouldn't.
no.
I mean, just based on what we currently charge, if that can just be upgraded, will make a substantial impact to our bottom line.
So how do we want to do this? Do we want to walk through each category, like residential, then subdivisions, then, what's the other one? Commercial, and then additional?
Right. So we had 3 major categories on our fees, and that's just strictly residential.
Thank
You're welcome. Strictly residential, existing residential. Then they had a category in that same for new residential, and then they had subdivisions, and then they had commercial. So I just stuck to what we do. And breakdown,
I'm
so.
looking at the Rockland and the Hanover, when I'm looking at the RDA,
Mhm.
they have 100-150. What's the difference?
Residential versus non-residential.
Ah, thank you.
The existing versus
Existing
new.
versus new, okay.
Correct.
I did have one question though, and I couldn't seem to locate it in there. What are we gonna consider or classify as a residential subdivision? Anything over 2 homes? Anything over 3 homes?
I'm not really sure. I was, again, just going by what the current one that we had, and it just said residential. It didn't have a number on there. I guess we could decide. I mean, in firefighting, what's considered a residential area? I would think anything more than 3 homes?
Well,
2
it
homes?
comes down to zoning, so
Oh,
if
that's
it's a
true, too.
residential area, it's a residential area. So
Right.
if we're gonna break it down to a subdivision, I'm just thinking
Well-
what we wanna do as far as a subdivision.
In looking at this, it seems that what the state is doing is they're talking about a single-family lot. So I'm
Versus
thinking
multiple lots?
versus anything else. So I'm thinking that's what they mean, is anything that's more than 1 lot would be considered subdivision.
So like Crossman Circle, would that be considered a subdivision because it has several lots in there? You know,
In theory, I mean, the only reason why I'm asking is I'm thinking of the new Buckley Street, I believe it is, off of Dorsey Street. There's 2 houses in there. Is that considered a subdivision? They had to put in their own street to get their driveways in there. Technically, I mean, depending on what your interpretation of a subdivision is,
Yeah.
it's only 2 homes, but
right.
they broke it down. It's 2 separate lots. It's a, you know,
That's a good
I'm just
question. I wish
thinking-
Kathy was here because she was the one that did this original one for Abington. I would say that if it's more than 1 lot, then it would be considered a small subdivision
right.
I
Yeah.
think so. Just based on what I'm seeing here
from the
state.
DEP, right?
It's like,
Well, probably
the
reach out to
state's
Andrew
gonna
too and
make,
get his determination.
they're gonna say, I mean, when you're filing your NOI, there's the state fees and then there's town fees. And if the state is saying anything above 1 family lot subdivision, then I think that's the way to go.
Right. I'm just thinking, just so that it's clear, so we don't have
Yeah.
to address
Yeah.
it later.
Exactly. Yeah, you're right.
It's kind of a weird situation.
Right, it's not usual. If you're gonna do that work and put in a road and all that, it's typically for more than 2 homes. But you get some of the places that we have in town that's family-owned property that they're gonna need to pull in a street and they wanna put 3 houses for their kids or whatever.
Right,
I mean, in theory, it'd still be,
right.
if they're breaking it down by lot to sell it individually, then it'd be subdivision. Just a thought. Other than
No,
that,
that's a
spreadsheet
good-
looks great.
It's a good point. It's a very good point. And I would say anything more than 1 house
Anything more
lot
than a single-family residential
is
property?
considered a subdivision.
Okay.
Yep. Okey-dokey. Congratulations, Dan.
Oh, thank you. Finally, it's nice to be feeling like I'm part of the team. You know? I love to talk, but it's nice to talk with some purpose. So.
Sure.
Yeah, but thank you.
So now when we vote on these, I mean, in theory, we could agree on what we want to have the fees be now, today, or the next meeting even. That way if we go to vote on them, it's just a quick. But do we want to vote on each one individually, or do we want to just,
I
Yeah. Do it as a
really,
document and submit it.
yeah, I really would like the input of the rest of the board though too. I mean, especially Kathy.
you know,
Tim.
what meeting are we going to vote on it?
The spreadsheet
Did
is
you-
great, though. Thank you for all that.
You're welcome.
It's very
You're welcome.
organized.
I just thought, looking across, you could see what
I
everybody
mean,
has.
everything was really there. Very, very well together.
It's gonna be in July anyways.
Hard to view on the cell phone. It's
We
still-
we at least have
sorry.
two
Oh,
The colors made it
Do you want
perfect.
hands to
No, it's
print out?
fine. I spent a lot of time looking at it.
Oh, no,
but,
well, here, there you go, 'cause I have the original at home.
Either
so-
way, just, great.
But if you notice, our sister town, who was part of Abington originally,
Probably,
which was
probably not.
their fees are.
Some of these were a lot, maybe not a lot more substantial than I thought, but just being from the city and not dealing with the small towns lately, it's interesting to see the,
Yeah, well, I mean, this is us currently, what we're doing.
correct.
And if you look here, it's
Okay.
110
Okay,
Right, we're seeing it.
so we got,
so the impact to our
So
revenue.
My question
Yep.
was just gonna be like,
yep,
who,
so we'll have two more
where,
meetings to discuss it.
or is there
They go
purpose in us
into-
making?
So do we want to go through
Where
and
does that money come from?
kind of, are we going to
Take
just
more
kind
money
of
from
miss,
people,
you know,
but
we like this one from
below
Rockland, we like
everybody.
this one from Hanover,
I mean,
and this one here, or,
After looking at all of them and the work that was put in here to keep it simple,
yeah.
That would be.
if I were to make a motion right now, I would motion that we mirror Rockland's fees with the exception of we define the residential subdivision. Other than that, their fees are
You know, like,
pretty
Stuff that we-
easy to understand.
Guys,
Oh, my bad.
They're pretty easy to understand. They're straightforward.
Yeah.
There's really, there's not much to question, you
How
know?
are you here?
I'm sorry.
No, I mean, I was
That's
thinking
okay.
that.
What we were just talking about, if we were to vote on this right now, I said, to make it easier, I would vote in the Rockland lines, because everything is pretty concise and easy.
I
Certainly
agree.
clear. The only exception will be to define what we want to do for the residential subdivision and make sure we put that in there. But other than that, it's pretty clear. When you look at the rest of the towns around us, they're all on par with Rockland for the most part. And you can clearly see how under our fees are in comparison to everybody else. So
Yeah.
it may be a shock to some of the contractors around, but it's not going to be because they're seeing it in other towns already.
Correct.
So,
And like I said, Hanover and Rockland are almost identical. And Whitman, I never got theirs,
never responded.
never responded.
Yeah, I mean, Rockland's our neighbor,
Whitman would have been, well, actually, they were part of Abington, so.
yeah, I mean, like,
I'll say this though, Abington's got the easiest fees to find.
Oh, no kidding.
Of any town's website,
Yeah.
it's the easiest one to find.
Yeah. Yes, I will agree with you on that, because I did look into a few on my own, and I was like, where? Holbrook's. She was very, very nice to deal with. She's a part-time conservation agent over there, and she was very helpful, and she said, I didn't put Holbrook on here because she was like she's in Norfolk County, and I was trying to stick to Plymouth County. But she said, anytime anyone on this board has any questions, she is willing to help us in any way. She wants to build a relationship with other towns around here. So I said, perfect. I said, we're all relatively new, and I said, it'd be nice to get some input from the other towns and see what their issues are and how they're dealing with them.
Am I too new fashioned to think that that would just be commonplace? I guess we'll work on that.
Yeah, I guess we
like that.
will.
I like that she's open to it.
She's very open to it. She's a part-time agent in Holbrook and a part-time agent in,
I know it's.
there's another town. Is it Cohasset? Hull?
I know
No.
it's one of the towns over there, yeah.
Hull.
Is it Hull?
I think so. She's a very, very nice person.
I have a question about on the last, like second to last page, duplicate copies of documents. Rockland is, I mean, some of these are charging $10 a copy, but East Bridgewater's charging 25.
Hmm.
So Tony, how is that fair to charge $10 per document if you make a copy? Or should we increase that cost to 25?
It depends if they're doing a public records request.
Okay.
Can
And the
I
amount.
just ask
I can go into after.
an amateur question?
Explain public records request for that.
Do we want to, you guys can please correct me if I'm out of line. Do we want to just raise all of our fees because we can?
No, we haven't raised them since Kathy did the form
Okay.
back in 1990.
All right, then that's good information.
It hasn't been done in a very, very long
I
time.
mean, we're charging 100, what,
I mean, we're clearly a lot more than
NOI,
everybody else. I just was wondering, like,
$25 versus
if it's a,
1,000.
you know,
Right.
a 24-year review
No,
of
it
the policies, then that's appropriate.
Yeah,
But if
no,
we're
it
just pushing for an extra $10, I don't know, I might.
No, I'm
help
just
the
curious
townspeople
as
save the
to,
10.
with inflation and stuff going up, like how much is $10? Most people are doing that, but then one town's doing 25. So with inflation going up, is it better to get ahead of the game and just say 25?
But is inflation reflecting a copy in the office? I mean,
Well,
if
I
we're
mean,
being real
again, you're
about it,
talking administrative time away from what everything else has to be done too.
make a copy.
Me, I would just
It's
keep.
I know,
not
like again, I'm not trying
Yeah,
to
so-
be.
and sometimes it's not as
just-
simple as just, it's not like.
Fair
just
enough, I
taking
think
this.
that's what I need to look at,
Yeah.
is just the responsibility of each one of these things.
Yeah,
You know, the NOI per residential subdivision has been $25, and
How much is it?
everywhere else, it's about 1,000.
So that's if they want to do something on their property, like they filed a
If
notice
you
of
have,
intent, right?
if you have a notice of intent, if you're a commercial or residential subdivision, and most of the towns are charging $1,000, and we're charging
The hour and labor.
I know, I think
That's how they can afford
so where does
conservation
that, okay, that's, my next question is where that goes, that's
Yeah.
where,
this, all of this
just
is
trying to
cost.
wrap my head around.
right.
Sure, yeah. Anything that comes in is for conservation only. It's what pays
And these
for
are
Tony's
the,
salary.
So for some reason I thought it was just part of the town's coffers, so I was wondering how we would track that.
This
Yeah.
here, I don't know if you have a copy of this, but this is from the state of Massachusetts.
Yeah, I'll be definitely
DEP. Yeah, you do. So
Increase
this
the
is their
fees.
current list of how they break down the fees.
Thank you.
So
That's
this
crazy,
might help a lot.
$25.
Yeah,
And,
Other towns are
Wow.
20,000.
I mean, the category for fees for each
Yeah.
different category, I mean, they've,
And then
this is the state, so.
yeah,
and
well, I
they
mean,
know what
we're
we-
safe there with the state.
Right.
You raise
And
the
most
price
of
it
the
up,
other
then scare
towns
'em so
are
that
in
they won't
line
even
with that.
ask.
Um,
Well, yeah, I would just keep it, like Rich said, I would just keep it, we're gonna mimic Rockland, mimic all of Rockland.
Okay.
If you start,
Yeah.
we're gonna take this from this town, then we're not mimicking,
There's
you know?
an explicit objection somewhere maybe, but it's probably.
Yeah,
Just have a blanket, this is the way Rockland's doing it, we don't have to justify messing around with, oh, we raised this
That's fair.
fee, Rockland had it at 50, but we're gonna have it 75, you know what I mean?
Right.
Instead just say, boom, Rockland's doing it. We'll be
And if we find we're having
copycats.
trends that something's a little bit more difficult or time consuming on our end, then we can bring it back to the board.
Yeah.
After we have a set fee schedule that we can say, this, we need to adjust and take it on an individual line item basis.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I definitely
I
think
agree.
that the 20-plus year update is.
Very appropriate.
Knowing that, absolutely.
It's long overdue.
Let's bring us into the 2020s.
Yeah.
all right, but yeah, like I said, we have 2 more meetings to discuss it and, until we can vote to amend the fees.
Do we need to post that anyway that we're planning on doing so?
Tony's gonna take care of that, yep.
And just as an FYI, I am working on another form. Sorry, I'm just a form kind of person.
We
You
love
got
it.
that new laptop and
I know, I know.
The printer's smoking as we speak.
I've already gone through 2
Meeting
printer
notes, right?
cartridges, it's so
Oh,
bad.
you gotta do this thing I'm doing. You send it ink every month.
Really?
Yeah, you never gotta buy it.
But anyway, so I will be wanting input from everybody on this, and I just kind of did it on my own. I looked around at surrounding towns, and it's a conservation request for determination of applicability instructions based on the Wetland Protection Act and the Town of Abington Conservation Bylaws. So it's another kind of checklist for an IDA. And this comes in at the very end, and this question came up, I remember, Alex, when you first started. It's trying to understand what a positive and a negative determination is. So it kind of spells out exactly here. So if you guys want to quickly look at it, and I'll probably,
it's the opposite of what you think it is.
it is the,
It is,
it
it is.
truly is. They're kind of reminding me of our accounting system that we used when I was working, and it was like, that's just the way it was.
It's
It looked
weird, I
odd.
remember, I wrote it down in my notes.
Yeah,
One of the courses.
It's a hard thing.
It's like
Is
positive.
it red, black, is it in parentheses?
Exactly, exactly.
It's like that little grade school and they're like fiction,
Yeah.
non-fiction, true.
Expenses and incomes and revenue, and
Yeah.
I'm like, "Bleh, bleh."
Oh, we're doing sampling, okay. So it looks like.
So how are you feeling? You're back?
I have a 6-week appointment on Friday. I still have like a little, it's like a different pain, but they just think it's residual swelling, so we'll see. But
Did you
I
start
hope to get
your
my,
PT and everything?
I haven't even been able to start it. I needed like 6 weeks before I lifted anything, twisted anything.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Wow.
hopefully I get the okay at least, and then I can do a little bit more.
Wow.
I don't want to be as ambitious to say like maybe go swing some golf clubs, but I would settle for just being able to lift a couple of grocery bags
Okay.
instead of just one.
I understand. Yeah, definitely.
It seems to be getting better.
I know how you feel. My husband,
Sorry. So,
being a builder, had many, many issues.
I got that.
Sure.
All right. Any further discussion on, well, checklist again? All right, next up, meeting minute approval. First one is February 22nd, 2022. Well, only Alex, Lynn, and myself can vote on this.
And Jean?
Say what?
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, and Jean too, yep.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes for the Conservation Commission meeting of February 22nd, 2022.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Next up is May 10th, 2022. Just, Dan and Rich can't vote on this one.
I'll make another motion to approve the Conservation Commission meeting minutes for May 10th, 2022.
You have a second?
A second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
The last one is May 17th. Dan, you're the only one that can't vote on this one. This was
Sorry,
the,
everybody.
this was the world record meeting. 2 minutes.
That was fun.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, it was fast.
I didn't miss too much, huh?
Oh, I wasn't actually there.
Oh, yeah, you're right, you weren't there. All right, so Lynn, you can't vote on either.
Yeah.
We want to, we're gonna have to amend that then.
Spirit.
Nope.
Okay, so,
so make a motion to accept the meeting minutes from May 17th with the amendment of
Lynn being absent, Lynn Mullen being absent.
Lynn Mullen being absent.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Correspondence. Okay, this from the zoning board in regards to 10 McHugh Circle, which I believe there's a proceeding order conditions
Yeah.
on that.
So what's going on with
Anyways,
that?
if you want to take a look at that. And then we also got something from the
What'd you think? What'd you think?
It's very good.
Department of the Navy, some work over on the air base.
Wish I had it last week.
It looks like they want to install some ground monitoring wells. And they're looking to do some clearing, cutting in the wetlands in the state-regulated 100-foot buffer zone. So let me take a look at this one.
Okay.
This is at Summer Street?
No, this one's at the air base.
My understanding, they want,
Union Point.
are they still in charge?
We don't have
of-
anything on that yet. They're
Oh,
cutting
okay,
it down.
gotcha.
Isn't it
It's
in their
correspondence we got.
And this is for the Abington piece over at Southfield?
Even the groundwater, I don't know what they're checking the contaminants maybe?
custody? Yeah, they may be, they may still be on the hook on that. so
Yeah, maybe.
I guess it depends on the agreement with the developer.
How far does Abington go in that area?
It's a weird little section of
Yeah.
I mean, it's gotta be
of
different.
town. There's really no access other than Weymouth.
Is it wooded?
There's some wooded area, there's some, a little bit of runway in there.
Yeah, wasn't the runway the one that comes up over Spruce Street and came in that way?
There's a portion of it, and
Yeah.
they're so caught up right now, it's
Yeah.
really hard to tell.
There's a place in Rockland that you can walk into it.
Thompson's Pond?
Yeah.
Thompson's
And that whole thing is just like
It's really cool.
mirrored in like a few town kind of
Three towns, Weymouth, Rockland, and Abington.
game of jump rope or something. How's this?
Can't get water, right?
I think it's a water issue, I think part of it is, the developers have just
Yeah.
run out of
for
money in a lot of
certain
cases,
things,
you
yeah.
know? They've done a lot of good work, and
It's such a big piece.
Who's
Yeah.
our representative for Union Point?
I think we were looking for one, right?
Oh, are we
The
still
last-
looking for one?
Appointed
thought
somebody.
they appointed somebody.
Yeah. Yes,
Roger Wood?
that's right.
It'll be interesting to see what goes on there.
Yeah.
Let's see what they're monitoring.
Yeah, that's it.
monitoring. They don't. So what's going on with them here?
Drilling road. Wells.
Oh, it's long.
Probably a super site cleanup.
I think that's probably what they're trying to look at.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Figure out what it's gonna
Yeah.
take.
I remember Bob McGuire, I used to drive by that in Holbrook every day on my way to work in Randolph, and it was like,
Does that piece that Abington owns, does that fall inside of the distance from the T station for the housing requirements that they're pushing? Is that inside the
I don't think so.
density area? Probably
It'd be
not.
half a
I think it's
mile,
little
right?
farther. Yeah, just thoughts.
Well, I think it depends on whose T station you're looking at.
Yeah, well, in our case,
The
we
Weymouth
want the
T-station?
Abington requirement to be met by that.
I know, but that's almost impossible for the Abington one to be met because of the fact that you have single-family homes all along
I
there.
know, I know.
Oh,
That's what I was thinking there.
another one.
Somehow, if a
I
bird
think that was
flew that
brought up-
far and it was a mile, then we could try something there, but I think it's outside of the distance.
Can we apply for a variance? I mean, that sounds like a great thought process as opposed to zero sum, but.
The only issue is same thing, getting water.
I think that was brought up when the planning board had, before
I
the
didn't.
town election, a lot of them brought that up,
I
Union
didn't
Point.
create that idea, I did read about something somewhere, and then I just put two together that perhaps, who knows, I mean, I don't know, there's such a big piece over there, it went from years ago being talked about as like a giant, like Assembly Row style development, which is where I used to live, versus a production facility for movies. So, I mean, there's been a lot of different things happening over there, but that was before I knew that Abington had a little piece. So, I mean, if we can
Yep.
get this undeveloped piece as part of our, who knows?
Sure, there's been,
I mean, I don't have much to say, I do an update on it.
That would be
by all
great.
means, you're here,
Whatever you got, my
might as
friend.
well participate.
All right, Alex Haggerty, 515 Summer Street. I'm also the liaison for you guys.
Yeah.
When it comes to Union Point, we are having discussions with the Rockland Board of Selectmen, because actually together, we own 51% of Union Point. Right now, Abington, well, not right now, always been, Abington owns about 12% of the property, and 8% of that is buildable. The rest of it is wetlands, and just, we cannot develop on that. But we are in discussions right now with the Rockland Board of Selectmen to actually go through a walkthrough of each of our properties, and then come before Weymouth to say what we want to do with the property. That's kind of been the difficulty, because having the three communities saying, oh, no, this is what we want. No, well, this is what we want. So
So I have a question for you.
Yes.
Because I know this has been tossed around for many, many, many years. But are they considering opening up Union Street in Rockland to connect to Weymouth again? So that possibly if we work with Rockland, we can get,
I have not heard that yet.
because I know it's been talked about, because
It could be, I have not
down
heard
on that end of Union Street, and they're like, no, we don't want it open, because it's been a dead end for so long.
Yeah.
Because the base took that land by eminent domain.
it. Yeah.
But that's such a big project over there, I think.
Can you guys see those
almost
plans again?
everything
Oh,
should
sorry,
be
I was going to
should
pass
be
them on to,
Oh,
Should be on the table for that, at least in a, just an idea phase, whatever the word is I'm looking for here. But
a consideration.
yeah,
it's
so,
untouchable, there's not developers snapping at our fingertips for that, so maybe there's something there that Rockland could also benefit from.
yeah, no, right now, the idea is we want to collaborate with Rockland to then develop on our side, because as of right now, like you were saying, Rich, there's no way for us to get to our property without some major construction. And it's definitely something the state will definitely not want to do, because it'll go over the rails.
Gotcha.
The last thing we need in town is another railroad crossing.
Correct.
Yeah, oh, yeah,
Correct.
that's true.
Indeed.
Well, that's all I have. I'll keep you in the loop, though, when Abington, we do that walkthrough with Rockland. They're eager to get started, because they have no development over there either.
Right.
And just so for people watching out at home, and for you guys too, whatever we decide, whether in the near future or in the far future, Abington is only zoned for commercial use. So no residential homes are going in the Union Point for our area.
Gotcha.
Is that something that, down the road, when you do your site walk, is that something that you can convey to us, and that we could have a couple representatives go just to
Yeah,
see some
absolutely.
of the conservation areas and stuff like that, where there's a lot of land that we can't touch?
Yeah, absolutely. That'd be perfect.
It'd be a good idea to get eyes on it before it's disturbed.
Yeah, exactly. Perfect, I can definitely do that.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Now, is it worth getting delineated before they do the sidewalk? You know,
Probably.
so
Yeah,
who does,
I passed it back.
who foots the bill for the delineation?
good question. If it's a municipality,
It's not a municipality. I
Passed
mean,
everything back.
technically, it'd be Abington, so.
yeah, that's what I mean,
Just hoarding on the end.
the town.
Pass that back.
It's the applicant who's supposed to foot the bill, but
You get the auger, you can go out there and
hey,
you can delineate it.
get me the auger, get me, oh, hey, by the way, in terms of the Munson, they actually sell just individual pages. So there's only 2 pages that you need for Abington. $70 instead of 200, 300.
That'd be nice.
All right, somebody want to make a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
We have a second?
I'll second that.
All those in
I was
favor?
on my first word.
Aye.
Aye.